Hey, good day, everyone. My name is Frank Lusko. I'm with Red River Managed Services team. Welcome to our Managed Services webinar. And hopefully today we can figure out how our managed services offering might be able to fit into your organization. So I want to start out by just mentioning a little bit of a short agenda here, talk a little bit, I'll introduce you to a couple of really key folks that are part of our managed services organization, talk about Red River kind of at a high level at a glance. And I think culture is an important thing to talk about here too. So I wanted to mention that, arguably, managed services companies play a big role in providing you, support for your business and effectively become a part of your business. So I think culture is real important to talk about here. And then what I thought we would do is kind of walk you through the customer journey, kind of give you an experience, maybe what a real life experience might be like, kind of working with, the Red River team. And that's even taking it from the early stages, during the sales process, some of the work that we do to kind of uncover and identify the right opportunities and the right places or service delivery gaps that you might have need to fill with outsourcing. So I'll go ahead and get started by introducing myself once again. Frank Lusko. I am the VP of Sales for Services. Okay, so I've had about 30 years in the business, about 15 doing managed services sales leadership, formerly with CWPS. Maybe some of you know that company, but we were acquired back in September 2019 by Red River. And it's been a great kind of experience for all of us here. And I think that flows down to our customers as well, because there's a lot of investment being made in the business, a lot of capacity being built in. And that's all on the backs of Red River's executive leadership team and the investments they're making in the company. So we really do appreciate that, and so do our customers. So services sales, what does that mean? That means managed services, what we're talking about today. It means cloud services, professional services, residency services. So that's, when we're putting full-time folks on site, and then app dev services as we start to develop solutions that are specific to industry and come up with some offerings in that space. I'll have that responsibility as well. I'm joined today by a couple of my colleagues that, again, are very instrumental in the process of things like onboarding and then ongoing program management for our managed services customers. Justin Welsh, who's our Director of Enterprise Services, been with the company for about 3 years, but has a long history with managed services providers and brings his talents and skills to Chantilly, Virginia, and the Red River team. So we're excited to have him as part of our director leadership team and in charge of one of our biggest programs that we have in the managed services group. And then we also have with me today Michael Last, another long timer at Red River, former CWPSer, and been in the industry a long time, but he's leading our onboarding efforts. And I can't tell you how much and how important Michael is to the company and his team is to the company and customers, that we onboard. But that's a critical stage in the process. Once he gets the handoff from sales, it's up to him to assimilate that new customer and their environment and all their processes into our service desk so that we can facilitate support for you, right out of the gate as we committed in the sales process. So welcome Justin and Michael to the call. I really appreciate you both flanking me on this one and supporting me. All right, so a little bit of Red River. So yep, I mentioned a little bit earlier that CWPS was acquired back in 2019. So decent sized company. They acquired a company with 150 people, about $100 million in business, a pretty good, reputation in the local market, the Washington, D.C. DMV market for managed services support. But since then, like I said, we've added an incredible array of offerings and services through this acquisition. We're now looking at better than 550 employees. I think that number needs to be updated because we've hired about 140 new people this year alone, okay, through the first half of the year. We feel blessed in many ways that, our business is still going strong throughout this crisis, that we're dealing with across the country. But, services are still important, and arguably maybe outsourced services are even more appealing to a lot of companies that are out there right now. So 25 years in the business, we're on track for about $1 billion this year. But what I really like about it is it still feels like we're the family business. It still feels like we're very close to the customer. But the great part of it, as I mentioned earlier, is the amount of resources that we can bring to bear, now with the financial backing and the support we have from the leadership team here at Red River. So really excited to be a part of the new company. I want to spend some time too talking about the Red River Charitable Foundation and our culture. I think it's incredibly important. Arguably, like as I mentioned, when you're looking at procuring IT services and you're looking at managed services, that's where I think the culture and the people have to matter the most. We're not, parachuting in, dropping in, installing a few firewalls and then leaving, or standing up a private cloud and leaving, or spinning up some instances up in a hyperscale cloud and leaving you. We're part of your business, arguably, right? We're part of your support operations, and it's incredibly important, that we have a cultural mesh or a cultural alignment, right? I mean, your users are going to be calling us every single day, and the expectation is there is we want them to feel 100% confident and comfortable that it's just like using an extension of your IT department. That's how we want them to feel, like we're part of your team. And maybe there's a person, an engineer that shows up every day on your site. Well, that person absolutely has to work, right? I mean, if that doesn't work, the reflection on us is not great, right? And let's be honest, things happen, we're going to make a mistake here and there, but if we have a really strong cultural bond and a great relationship, honestly, we know we're going to get through that, right? We know that ethically we're great, we work hard, we're empathetic to the customer's needs, and the bottom line is we're committed to getting it taken care of and fixed, and usually that gets us a pass, if we make a mistake here and there. So we do recognize that and appreciate how important it is to be able to do that. So, we have a near and dear place in our heart for our veterans. We support a number of activities there, events, scholarships, training programs. We do the same for children, the future of our country, right? I mean, STEM classes or STEM programs, I should say, and even to some degree, as you can see in the picture here, we've partnered with the Bruins, and we actually outfitted an entire STEM lab for a school. So we do that every year. We pick a school and we outfit their entire STEM lab with all the IT equipment they need to support that, and then provide some guidance and training for them as well. And then it's really important that we're participating each of the communities that we have offices in. So in every location, there's a community leader that goes out and seeks opportunities for us to participate, in community programs. They recruit, they rally people, they're out there participating in the effort. And there's so much more that we do in this space. And I just think it's so important to mention it. I just encourage you to go out to our website or out to the Facebook site for Red River Charitable Foundation and see some of the other things that we're doing out there. In addition, I think it was really important to mention that we're very committed to the development of our diversity and equality and inclusion initiatives in our workplace. We have a DEI committee stood up and created. It's led by one of our senior executives, Kush Kumar. We know these are incredibly challenging conversations that we need to have with our folks and with our management team, and our management team has to be able to, kind of deliver these messages and know how to handle these situations. We don't have it all figured out, but that's what the committee's for. But I think it's incredibly important to mention that we're committed to making everyone, at Red River feel safe and valued and know that they have great opportunities, just like anyone else in the organization would have. So I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that before leading into kind of the meat of this, the intention of this webinar. I feel strongly about culture being incredibly important in our relationship, with our customers. So what I'd like to do right now is then kind of take you down this journey, and see if we can figure out what the right fit is for your business. And what I mean by that is, there's there's different areas, and different needs that are kind of driving the need for outsourcing, right? So in some cases, it might be a need for some technical expertise or a deeper, experience around multiple different technology stacks that are out there right now. It's almost impossible for a single company, unless you're, Fortune 500, to be able to staff to keep up with everything that Microsoft is doing, for instance, okay, and all the changes and things that occur on a regular basis with Office 365 Suite and Azure. Maybe you need to focus on the business. Maybe we like to call it the money-making systems for the organization, right? It could be a nonprofit, that's looking to build their funding systems. It could be, websites that drive and applications that drive revenue to the business. It could be a number of different applications and things like that are more important to how you run your business versus kind of the day-to-day plumbing, so to speak, that needs to be maintained, in order for all this to operate, but still kind of gets in the way of, working on the business, right? There's opportunity to reduce cost, of course. Okay, if we can work a shared model into the program, and you can leverage, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 resources, or a percentage of their time versus having to hire that equivalent on site, there is an opportunity to save money. Business outcomes is another reason, right? Like, how can we leverage the technology today, okay, to deliver those outcomes? Maybe an outcome could simply be a compliance requirement, a regulatory requirement, a HIPAA or CMMC, something like that on those lines. We want to leverage the technology and the spend, right, that we have as well. Right. If I'm paying $25, $35, $50 a seat for an Office 365 seat, I want to take advantage of those services, right? I want to leverage every single one of those that I can inside there the right way. Okay. And then some of our customers want to make sure that there's a plan. It's really difficult to kind of keep up with every one of the manufacturers or the OEMs, as we call it, and what they're doing in terms of their product development, service development, things of that nature. But when you have a partner that can bring to bear the people, the subject matter expertise to kind of keep up with the partners, and then we could collectively bring that together in a strategy that's aligned with where you want to head, that's where we can come in and help. Okay, and one of these guys on our call today is that type of person. Okay. So those are kind of the 5 things that I look at, and there's many, many more, I'm sure, that drive reasons for outsourcing. But at a high level, these are the ones that I think most of our customers are contending with. So beyond that, now you start to dig into the technology stacks themselves, and you kind of carve things out, and you try to find those areas, right, those service delivery gaps, okay, that we might be able to fill as a managed services provider. So it could start with the help desk, it could be after hours knock, it could be, maybe you just need some monitoring of your network and support services there. Maybe it's an MDR type solution or a security option that you need to be compliant. Maybe we need to keep our eyes on network devices, servers, and all the noise coming off of your workstations, and correlate that information into actionable events and incidents that may or may not require some type of response. But keeping things up to speed, watered and fed, vulnerability scanning, those types of things. Of course, unified communications. Both Red River and CWPS were Cisco Masters Collab partners, but we're also very strong in Microsoft Teams and do have other options for UCaaS, with a number of other hosted providers. Office 365 is huge. Red River is a big partner of Microsoft. We have tens of thousands of seats of Microsoft Office 365 deployed. We've made investments in talent across the board, from our sales and pre-sales resources to our delivery people on the project side, and of course, talent on our service desk. Right now, we have 127 service desk personnel, either working dedicated on an account or in an enterprise assigned arrangement or in our shared service desk. So, and of course, you can expect a lot of that to be Microsoft talent as well. Maybe it's IT backup and DR. Maybe it's hyperscaler cloud management, multi-cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP, and maybe it's field support services, strategic advisory services, and some program or project management. So these are all areas that Red River Managed Services excels in, okay? And these are all areas that you can look at collectively as a whole or independently, to fill, some type of service delivery gap you feel you might have. All right, so this is where I kind of like take you on a little journey with the on a fictitious customer, but kind of real, okay, and a real experience that we may have had on the pre-sale side, and Michael's experiencing or has experienced in the past on the onboarding, and certainly what Justin has experienced many times over on the ongoing support side. So, this customer is in DC. They've got 40 locations, 500 employees, 130 servers, a bunch of networking gear. They got a fragmented network. They're moving to SD-WAN. They got multiple ADs. They got to consolidate this. So this company maybe was PE-backed company. They've got a headquarters. They're in the process of aggressive acquisition kind of phase in their life cycle of the business, and they need help, right? And they're trying to figure out, how to get help and where to get help and what to focus on as a business versus what to outsource, so they came calling, okay? They came looking for us. We had a bunch of calls with their senior leadership teams there in IT, and we defined, kind of what those areas were that required help, okay? And then we determined kind of a level of effort based upon those statistics. So if they want us to take over everything in this environment, then we're going to need to know, okay, things about locations, where they're at, every single device in the environment, what we can expect, to monitor, backups, how many workstations, what are they using on the workstations, what applications, what workloads are, private, what workloads are, destined for the cloud, what workloads are destined for a SaaS application. All of these factors come into play during our pre-sales RFI and our discovery with the account to really be able to determine what that level of effort is going to look like, all right? And the beautiful thing with us is, let's say we don't get this ticket information, because ticket information directly correlates to that level of effort. But if we don't get that, we have over 200 customers right now, and we are very data driven, and we have a lot of comparables. Just like you might go shopping for a home, we can go shop the right price for you for your managed service delivery based upon some comparable businesses, companies, size, complexity, and we can get really darn tight and close to what we think is a really fair, opportunity for both Red River and the customers in determining what that price was going to look like for a deal. One of the things that one of our customers told us was this: it's like they weren't interested in this full-on dedicated support, throwing a bunch of dedicated resources out onto a site. They were more interested in just achieving the outcome and not so much how we achieve that outcome, right? So if we establish SLAs that are 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes on a critical, okay, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that for my 650 users, my hundreds of network devices and servers, all right? How are you going to deliver against that 15-minute? I don't care if you have to put 10 people on my site. I'm not interested in staff aug. I'm not so much interested in, HR managing those folks. I really want to just know that you're going to hit our goals and our SLAs, okay? And so I'm telling you this because I'm kind of leading into a couple of different options that we have as service offerings or managed service offerings from Red River. And the one that this one speaks to really is the one that I'm showing you here in the middle, okay, this enterprise assigned. So the rest of this kind of journey is going to be built around the assumption that, we're proposing kind of an enterprise assigned model to this organization versus one that's we call a commercial shared, which is a full shared remote service desk, no on-site support. We're working kind of hand in hand collaboratively or in a co-managed arrangement with maybe some existing IT staff that's on site, or could be just an individual, quite frankly, that's staffed by the company. But you're going to work with a shared service desk that has about 20 to 25 customers and maybe 2,000 to 2,500 end users that they're supporting. And that group will have, a couple of tier ones, couple of tier twos, a tier three, and a team lead. Okay, that's guiding the kind of the support operations aspects of it, prioritizing tickets and making sure things get taken care of for you. Skipping over the middle for a second, then you have the other extreme, right? The enterprise dedicated, and some customers prefer this. Okay, and that's like taking that level of effort and putting dedicated individuals typically on their site, but it doesn't have to be on their site. It could be coming out of our service desk, but they are committed 100% and dedicated to that customer's outcomes, okay, and meeting their SLAs. Of course, that can be a little bit more expensive solution because you're paying for a full-time individual, and if we don't have if we don't optimize the tier 2 or the tier 3, then you might be paying for some services that aren't really being delivered, right? So we usually find that it's in a lot of environments you don't need the full-time tier 2 or necessarily the full-time tier 3. You can get away with the shared support model, and I can explain how we do that through our enterprise assigned service desk model. So think in this model, we're looking at assigning individuals from a remote service desk and providing some on-site services. Okay, not a full dedicated, but a decent presence of on-site support as needed. Okay, to deliver the service. So if we feel like to meet those outcomes and SLAs, we need to keep someone out there full time, then that's what we do. Okay, if we feel like we can deliver that service without having that or have a fractional person on site, then we can do that as well. But you're also going to have a service desk team, we call an enterprise service desk team, that's only going to be dealing with 5 or 6 customers at any given time. So they're going to have a deeper understanding of your environment by virtue of having fewer customers, right? And gain that institutional knowledge that in the end is going to help facilitate response times and remediation time. So I want to expand on that a little bit to show you some of the other things we're doing here. This is a little bit of an eye chart, but kind of helps explain the differences between the 3 models. And if I focus on the central model here, this IT Assist Enterprise, you're going to get the enterprise assigned service desk team, the escalation team. So we have a team now of about a half dozen, 6 or 7 subject matter experts around various different technology stacks. So think AWS, Azure, Intune, data center, network, UC, all of those technology stacks where we have that individual who is their escalation point from the enterprise service desk. So you get the benefit of those 2 teams. You get the benefit of a shared NOC service desk team. So that's after hours support. Think we have 3 overlapping shifts of NOC support. So they're working on noise that's coming off the network on top of handling critical tickets and things that happen overnight. All right. You're going to get an assigned program manager. So that program manager will probably have a handful of customers, 5 or 6 probably max, maybe even fewer than that is the way it looks. But that person will be committed to making sure that we're delivering upon our service commitments. So largely built around support operations and kind of being that liaison to our strategic advisor, Justin Welsh, who's on the call here. Quarterly business reviews, monthly performance reviews, customer satisfaction surveys coming right from our customer success team. And then we have this on-site enhanced dispatching capability now. So think, if we have to send somebody onto a site, it's part of the program, okay? Because we're committed again to delivering against the outcome and the SLAs. So if the service desk determines, we collectively agree that we need to get a person out there and take care of things, we will do that as part of the arrangement. Okay, so that kind of covers the enterprise assigned kind of model that we have. The enterprise service team, these are the resources that we bring to bear. So again, I mentioned some of these groups, but Dave Kaufman runs this group. He's our VP of Support Operations. Justin reports to him, and Justin's got the enterprise services team. He's got the on-site support folks that are responsible for supporting your account, and they all roll up to him. And he's got the project manager, or program manager, I should say. That whole group reports up to him, and their job is to make sure again that we're delivering against our commitments, and he's providing you with appropriate strategic direction. Abdul Abubakar, he runs our technical operations. So the escalation team rolls up to him, the NOC rolls up to him, the enterprise service desk folks roll up to Abdul, and he's responsible for the development of this team, the growth of this team, and again, making sure that we're delivering on our commitments. Flavio Bustillos is our executive director of service delivery, and he is our people person. He is he kind of is our data metrics KPI, runs the contact center, delivers all of the weekly reports to the leadership team on how the overall service desk is performing, how the individual teams are performing. Whenever there's a moment where we need statistics and metrics and data, Flavio is our man, and we make that available to our customers regularly, okay, and regular weekly reports and monthly reports as well as quarterlies. In addition to that, you'll have an account management team. So think of an executive sponsor. So either myself, Jeff Sinclair, the president of the managed services division, or others can become, your executive liaison or sponsor. You will have your account executive team that has inside sales support, solution architects, and other pre-sales engineering resources. I believe now we have about 10 solution architects and another, couple of dozen pre-sales engineers. There's like 40 or so project engineers. So it's got a pretty decent team of people who know how to scope and deliver projects. And then you have Jeff Sinclair's team, the customer experience group led and his director, Audrey Quozo. So you'll have an assigned customer success person on your account that not only assists Justin's team with their efforts, but also provides training, ongoing training services and adoption services to help you leverage all of those investments that you're making with your various manufacturers and service providers. Bob Kyle, that's who Michael reports to. He runs the onboarding folks in CX, and he's building out his team of onboarding professionals. So lots of people that become a part of your business, and as you can see, going back to culture, it's so important that all of us are on the same page and working together, and and aligned with your mission. So I mentioned all these included services, but here's just another slide to kind of highlight those. In this enterprise assigned services model, again, it's a delivery model that I think provides you with all of the support operations and strategic services that you feel you might need, to manage your environment. It comes with strong SLAs against that, and it comes at a good, I think, fair price. It really does, because of the way we model this. It's purely around that level of effort based upon historicals and comps and things like that we use to help, take some of the art out and put more science in our calculations of and pricing models. Okay. These are optional services that can come with this as well. So think we can add on additional Office 365 services, Azure or multi-cloud services, and certainly security offerings, anti-malware frameworks, managed detection and response services, and of course, backup and disaster recovery are all things that we can kind of bolt on to the foundational offering. All right, so stepping along, I'm going to kind of hand the baton off to Michael Last, who's going to talk a little bit about our onboarding services. And just before he does that, we typically have this 45 to 60 day onboarding project plan, on the smaller side, 45, on the larger side, it could lead to 60 and sometimes bigger. It just depends, on what we agree upon. But there's key things that have to take place there, right? And this is such a critical stage in the handoff from sales to the service department, right? Is getting the information. So I can't emphasize how important it is for that collaboration and cooperation to take place between the customer and the onboarding team. And in situations where it gets a little tough, maybe there's an outgoing MSP and maybe they're not quite as cooperative as you want them to be. We have ways, okay? We've dealt with, and Michael himself has dealt with hundreds of these situations, good and bad, but he's worked through every single one of them, and he has ways of making sure we can get the information we need, document the environment, build the SOPs, all the things that we need there to do that right. And so he's going to talk to you about his onboarding and project plan, okay? Kind of step through the high levels there. And then also the IT fitness plan. So as we're in there collecting this information, we're also coming out of it with a deliverable to help you understand kind of maybe where some of your gaps are. What's green, what's yellow, what's red, what looks good, what needs your attention, and what maybe has to be taken care of right away. All right, so Michael, I'm gonna let you take over, okay, and talk a little bit about your plan.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank.
Yep, you're welcome.
I'm the manager of the team here at Red River. And our job is to make sure that the service desk is fully enabled to support any environment that we bring under managed services support. So as it says here, the key onboarding objectives, a big part of that is collecting information in what we call our discovery phase, making sure that we have login credentials to the environment, but also that we understand the environment as a whole, because if we can't understand it, then the service desk won't be able to understand it and support it. So we work with you to not only gather that information on how to log in and what systems are currently in the IT environment, but also just really understand the business needs behind them and what the critical components and critical services are. We do that through requests for information forms that we send out, but also a lot of in-depth working sessions, one-on-one calls, and meetings with all the essential key stakeholders to make sure we get that information over into our systems. Once we have that discovery taking place, we start gathering that information, we start refining the project plan. The project plan kicks off a little bit earlier, but we start refining it as we discover more systems and we get more kind of context about the environment that we're looking to support. And I want to give you if I can steal control for just a second here, Frank, just a quick view of what that project plan looks like. I'm going to hand this back to you.
All right, sure.
All right. I'm going to share this out. So we won't go over all this, obviously, but just a quick look at how these project plans are built and the phases that they're broken down into, starting with the planning and staging on our side, getting our tools in place and ready to go, getting that kickoff call and getting these requests over to the client to get this information, and then kicking off our discovery. This is the information gathering, finding out what is out there in the environment, what we need to be aware of, any security considerations, obviously the devices and systems we need to be monitoring, and the facility visits, going out on site and taking note of exactly what is out at each of the locations that we're supposed to be supporting. Bringing any on-site resources that are assigned up to speed on the project, making sure that they are in step with the onboarding as we go. And then the documentation and tools deployment is a very big piece of the onboarding project. This is getting our monitoring tools out in the environment. We have a very well documented plan on how to do this in a wide variety of different IT environments, making sure that we're monitoring the servers and workstations that we need to support, all of the network devices, even the internet circuits and web portals and websites. So we get all of our tools deployed, we get all of our documentation updated for the desk, we get all of the login credentials and privileged information stored in our secret server, our privileged access management platform. And then we develop SOPs, standard operating procedures, so that the desk has a template for how to handle specific issues the correct way every time, to make sure that you're getting that standardized support. You know exactly what to expect when a certain issue comes through the Red River service desk. And this all leads up to the transition phase, which is one of our main goals of onboarding, getting this transition over to the service desk in a way that they're comfortable supporting it and they are confident that they have everything that they need. The service desk team lead will get the final sign off, the final say so on his confidence level with the team, make sure he has everything that he needs to take this environment on. And if not, we go back and we address any follow-up items that we have until he is completely satisfied and good to go. And then finally we move into what is called the IT fitness, which I believe is on the next slide here. So Frank, I'm going to give it back to you. We can reshare that PowerPoint. We can talk about the IT fitness assessment. Do you have that up, Frank?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was on cue and I kind of missed it there. Yeah, this is our IT fitness sample plan, right?
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I missed it. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so once we have the transition over to the desk and they are supporting the environment fully, our onboarding efforts refocus towards this IT fitness plan, which at its core is kind of it's a combination of a few different things. So it isn't, it is a scorecard on the current environment, taking a look at best practices and highlighting any issues or anything that we want to make sure everyone's aware of. But it's also a roadmap for the future, making suggestions based on the business needs of the client's organization. Are they looking to move into a space that allows for more scalability, more growth? Do we need to get away from on-premise hardware and move more towards the cloud? It also gives us a chance to identify any risks in the environment currently that we can just address right off the bat. If we find issues that we can take care of at the service desk, we highlight them on the report, we make note of them, and then right away hand it over to the service desk so they can start addressing those right away. But this IT fitness plan is a very collaborative effort here at Red River. The onboarding team works directly with the escalation team, the subject matter experts Frank was talking about, to make sure we're doing a deeper dive into those environments, into those systems, and that we have a comprehensive look at what we are recommending for the future to get the environment to where it needs to be. And yeah, that's the IT fitness plan.
Wonderful. Michael, thank you for that. Thank you for doing such a great job with all the projects you have on your plate. I'm going to keep you busy, all right? Thanks. All right. And so kind of the next phase in this really is kind of the ongoing engagement, right, or support operations. And I'd like to introduce Justin Welsh. He's our Director of Enterprise Services. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about, how he handles this thing from a day-to-day basis. Here you go, Justin.
All right, thanks, Frank. Yeah, so we've gone through the sales process, we've gone through the onboarding process, and now we're kind of going live with day-to-day support. So as Frank and Mike was talking about, we've got several different team members ultimately supporting you and your environment. From a dedicated perspective or from an assigned perspective, we have program management here that you will be working with and is going to be your primary point of contact for various executive level initiatives and items. So executive escalations, but really driving some of the tactical planning and strategic management and making sure that we're also meeting our service obligations as well. So that program manager is really kind of pivotal in the entire process here, and really is your liaison between your environment and your business needs and our services in terms of like professional services and some of the help desk operations as well. And so Michael was talking about the IT fitness, and that's a really good point to bring up because that's out of the gate. That's where we start. I kind of take a bit of an ITIL methodology here. And so we kind of have a couple of different phases as we go live, right? And the very first phase is getting to know your environment, getting to know your business operations, getting to know what's important to you as a business. Kind of the where are we now methodology. So we take that and discuss and work with you in determining ultimately where do we want to go. For example, if you have a bunch of older 2003 or 2008 servers sitting in a data center and you want to go to a more OpEx strategy there and go and do more cloud adoption, the program manager is there to help guide that and help execute that tactical plan with you. So very, very important role there. They also perform, cadence meetings with you in terms of just weekly operational check-ins. They're going to be doing monthly metric reporting just to kind of go over SLAs and just service delivery in general. And then get into quarterly business reviews and review how we're doing on the strategic and tactical plan that we set forth and prioritize at the beginning of the engagement. And that's always an evolving thing. New priorities come up, things get reprioritized, get pushed down, get pushed up on the list, and that program manager is there to assist with that and make sure that our priorities from the service delivery side aligns with your business objectives. The assigned resources, so we've got a couple of different layers of assigned resources in addition to the program manager. If we determine that we need dedicated on-site support, that support team is going to report up through the program manager and help with some of the low-level, low-hanging fruit tactical initiatives, administration, maintenance, and potential walk-ins or things that just need physical hands-on support. That's what they're there for. In addition to that, our goal here with the enterprise service desk is to shift to a more remote support model. I think traditionally it's been very common to see a heavy load on-site dedicated resources where we may have 2, 3, 4, 5 different engineers on-site every single day. But like Frank was talking about, we're trying to drive more remote support and diversify that support. And it really gives us the opportunity to allow for, guys taking time off, PTO and things like that. Because that stuff happened, we're all human, life happens. So with the idea of having a enterprise service desk, we can absorb all of those people go in on PTO and growing that team and really diversify and make sure that we've got that support coverage without really impacting any level of operation. In that team, I want to reiterate, one of the big differences here is that generally a previous core support team would have 15, 20, 25 different clients on there, possibly smaller. But the whole idea here is that this shared enterprise team has 4 to 5, maybe 6 different clients, which allows them to really get entrenched into the company and business policies and procedures and certain escalation requirements and communication protocols and things like that. It's a lot easier to have 6, 7, 8 engineers dedicated to 6 or 7 different clients to, over time, learn all of that institutional knowledge than the same level of engineers, 6 or 7 people supporting 20 or 30 clients. It's just not feasible. So we're trying to trim that down so that you guys have the same level of operational support remotely than you would traditionally with an on-site support model. And then again, we've also got the NOC team, which helps with monitoring critical outages and addressing those 24/7 around the clock. And as well some of the other items there in terms of emergency dispatch and things like that. So that's kind of how the support operations, the team is kind of built. I want to emphasize here that, you know, with our dedicated engineers that go on site and our program managers, I really want to drive culture here. It's very, very important to us that, you know, at the end of the day, it's important for us to become part of your business and get entrenched into your culture and your events. To give you an example, one of our engineers, one of our enterprise clients, was engaged in a chili cook-off and actually won in one of the categories, and going to annual events and really becoming part of your organization. I think that speaks volumes into really trying to build a partnership and support you guys as a business.
I couldn't agree with you more, Justin, on that fact. You know, I mean, we are an extension of many businesses, you know, in terms of their IT support organizations, and we couldn't do it without, you know, really being able to align with their culture and put the right people in there. And I think, you know, when in part of our hiring practices and development practices, that's what we do. We want to make sure that people, you know, people get it, right? And if they didn't get it coming into the business, then hopefully we do a good job of guiding them in the right direction and training them, you know, properly on you know, on really strong customer service skills. So
yeah. Thank
you for your presentation, Justin. I really appreciate it. Michael, thank you so much. I'm going to just wrap things up here with a couple of quick. Oh wait, is this still your?
Yeah, we got one more slide. This is just an example here of some of the metrics. You know, we are monitoring performance metrics on a week by week, month by month, quarter by quarter basis. This is an example of a dashboard. It's live data. You guys have access to this. You can look at this at any time. And it's also part of the things that we go over during the EBRs and QBRs and things like that. So we don't have to drill into detail here, but just wanted to show that we do have some pretty nice dashboards here to kind of give you a lay of the land on how support operations are going.
That's right. These are all customizable to whatever needs we have. I built these slides. I can't believe I forgot this one was there.
Yeah, and I will just add this. You know, I will emphasize this. It's an example, right? And we all understand, especially on the enterprise side, that, you know, there's different things that are important to one organization that may not be important to other organizations, and we want to craft these dashboards and these performance metrics and just how we service you guys as an organization, as a client, that really ultimately support your business operations so that you guys can focus on the business side and that we can focus on IT and IT support operations.
Right on, man. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you again, guys. All right. So I'm just going to wrap it up with a couple of these optional services that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Of course, there's a whole suite of Microsoft services around Office 365 that we can support. We have this cool offering. I actually had a price on here, but it's a anti-malware bundle, you know, with Cisco Umbrella, Silence, and KnowBe4. So we call it this Prevent, Protect, Educate, DNS protection, next generation AV protection, and then arguably maybe one of the most important pieces to this is the education of the customer on what to look for, you know, what to expect in terms of trends from the bad guys, and, you know, how these people are trying to exploit the end user. So this is a really kind of straightforward, pragmatic approach to spending, thoughtfully spending, or being good stewards of your IT spend is this simple kind of cyber solution. Okay. Same thing with MDR, managed detection and response. This is a SOC as a service, so in partnership with AlertLogic, who uses their special tools and software to kind of correlate and ingest all kinds of activity and noise. Think in intrusion detection type services, vulnerability scanning services. So we're going to get vulnerability remediation requests. We're going to get incident and events that come off of this environment. It'll be sifted through by their software, by their live SOC. There's 300 agents, I believe, looking at this information and analyzing this data. And if they determine there needs to be some escalation in action, that gets sent across the wire to us, where we start with the IR process. So that is a service we're calling a managed detection and response, and it's I love this service. I'm glad that we put this thing together. So with that, I kind of wrap things up, and I was hopefully I did a good job of explaining what our potential managed services offerings are. What customers are kind of looking for in our own experience, what areas that they're looking to cover in terms of service delivery, and then what models that we can present. And again, every one of those models I showed you is flexible. Okay, those are kind of the foundational offerings, but every one of those can be tweaked to work, okay, for your particular situation. And that's, I think, important to mention. With the last few minutes here, I think a couple of questions popped up, right, Corinne? So I did answer them online, but one of the questions that came up, if I could, is how do you recommend getting your on-site team more comfortable with the idea of outsourcing? So I'll make a little assumption here. In trying to understand this, I think it means if we are going to co-manage the environment with your existing IT staff, right? You're going to identify areas that you want to outsource, but we still have to have this relationship and work hand in hand with your IT staff. Well, I clearly believe that we have to establish that up front. Some of our customers completely take their IT teams and revector them towards running the applications and the line of business applications in the system. Or maybe like in this example here, they're acquiring companies, and their job is to assimilate those new businesses into the IT service delivery team. So they're more focused on the project side of the business. Or maybe they get vectored towards vendor management, okay, and doing things like that, procurement management, things like that. Or in the cases where they're still engaged, and maybe we're a tier 1 responsibility and they're a tier 2 and greater, we have to build that RACI, right? We have to build that responsibility matrix to make sure we know who's doing what, and also that kind of division of labor. So that's an important aspect. I think they need to meet the people. They need to know who's working on their stuff. They have to know what our capabilities are. And I look to the customer success teams and to the program managers as part of the onboarding and the rollout to make those introductions, help the customer understand what our workflows are, what tools and how they work. And then, of course, the people, okay? The most important thing is the people that are working on their environment. Another question came up, are customers assigned to specific IT professionals, or are you calling into someone different each time? Well, what you're calling into is a pod or a specific group of engineers. So in the case of a shared environment, it'll always be in that 5 to 7 user, maybe 5 to 7 members. You'll get to know them over time. It may not be the same person that's answering the call, but it's going to be one of these 7 individuals who you'll get to know by name personally. Now that group, the shared team, commercial shared team could support up to 20 customers, as I mentioned. The enterprise team, which is the example that we gave in this presentation, it's going to be more like 5 or 6 customers. So they're really going to get to know you better. They're going to get to know your environment even better. They'll have that institutional knowledge. As Justin mentioned, they'll also have this diversity. So where if someone was out, on PTO for whatever reason, or there's any kind of vacancy on the team, it can easily be backfilled by the people that are there because they all know your environment. Okay, so it won't be one individual. Now, from a advisory perspective and program management, it could be an individual if you want a dedicated person, or it could be a shared person, and that shared person would be no more. We can't see it being more than 4 or 5 customers at any given time. As a matter of fact, we're probably seeing it closer to 2 or 3, to be honest with you, for one program manager. Okay, and then Justin's in a strategic advisory role, kind of overseeing that whole group, and his information gets pushed down from our office of the CTO to him, to our managed service, our managed services group led by him, and then down to the program manager. So he's always there too in an advisory mode, and he's going to be continuing to build out that component of his enterprise services delivery team too as well. So those are the only 2 questions I had, Corinne. So I'm going to let you kind of wrap it up unless others came up that I don't see.
Yeah, that should. I think you answered everything.
All right, cool. Well, thank you again, everyone that participated in this webinar. I believe there's going to be a recording of it, so we'll get that posted out there for you. If you have any questions, I'm pretty sure everyone knows how to reach us. We'll be happy to talk to you more about the specifics of your situation and how we might be able to help. So again, thank you everybody on the call. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Michael. Corinne, Gary had to leave, but appreciate everybody's support on this.
Great, thanks, Frank. Take care.
You're welcome, guys. All right.